Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I'll go to the content of first unit 1 of chapter The Portrait of a Lady by Khushwant Singh. It's plus 2 second year prose. I think in unit 1 I think it has been a little bit of disbelieving, confusion, and also unbelievable and something strangeness just has come into the minds of the writer Khushwant Singh about the grandparents. So now I will go to the detail about that. The writer's grandmother was an old woman. Her skin looked pale and wrinkled, and the writer had known her for the last 20 years. And she always appeared the same. I think here, writer Khushwant Singh's grandmother or grandma, I think her face had been wrinkled with the white hair and also the charmless face also of his grandmother. Charmless means it had also turned ugly and there is no beautification of her face as it was in a young time. So I think its face was wrinkled. Wrinkle means some criss-cross marks had gone there over the face. Criss-cross mark means some horizontal lines, some vertical lines had run everywhere to everywhere. Somewhere the jaga wrinkle itla face had turned also looking ugly or it had become so colorless, charmless, beautifulless that was. So another thing, the writer had known her for the last 20 years and she always appeared the same. I think here the writer just had seen her grandfather for the last 20 years. Means she was the same at her age for the last 20 years. 20 ବର୍ଷ ହେଲା ତାଙ୍କ ସାଙ୍ଗରେ ତାଙ୍କର ଯେଉଁ ରାଇଟର ଖୁଶୱନ୍ତ ସିଂ ରହି ଆସୁଥିଲେ ସେ ତାଙ୍କ ମାଆକୁ ଦେଖୁଥିଲେ ସେଇ ସେମ୍ ଫର୍ମ ଆଜ୍ ୟୁଜୁଆଲ୍ ଫର୍ମ 20 ବର୍ଷ ତଳେ ଯାହା ଏବେ ବି ସେଇଆ. So no changes, nothing changes, just appear just of her grandmother. And she was not changing. Time was constant near. People say that once she was young and pretty and she had her, and here the people say that, people giving their remarks that her writer's grandmother was pretty and also handsome during her youth time. She was young during her youth time. But here Khushwant Singh also could not believe that, also did not believe in that fact, because Khushwant Singh believed that my grandmother I have been just living with her for the last 20 years and she was the same at her age for the last 20 years. No changes, no any changes were also occurred to her. Kichi bhi change nahi. So that's why writer Khushwant Singh was absolutely unbelievable about the fact that which or what the people say about just his grandmother. ଲୋକମାନେ ତାଙ୍କୁ ଯାହା କହୁଥିଲେ ଯେ ତୁମର ଗ୍ରାଣ୍ଡମଦର ବହୁତ ଥିଲା, ପ୍ରେଟି ଥିଲା, ହ୍ୟାଣ୍ଡସମ୍ ଥିଲା, ୟଙ୍ଗ ଥିଲା during her youth time. But I think here the writer Khushwant Singh also could not believe that fact. ସେ ତ ବିଶ୍ୱାସ କରିପାରୁଥିଲେ. Khushwant Singh told that my grandmother just had been grown older and older and wrinkled faces and she was short and she was also fat. I think something also slightly bent. Slightly bent means it agu jhunki chaduthili because she could rest upon her waist to take the load of her body. ତେଣୁ ଅଣ୍ଟାରେ ଟିକେ ହାତ ଦେଇ ସେ ଚାଲୁଥିଲେ କାରଣ ବଡ଼ିଟା ତାଙ୍କ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରୋଲ ଲୋଡ୍ ତାଙ୍କୁ ନେଉଥିଲା କେଉଁଠି ନା ଅଣ୍ଟାରେ, କାହିଁକି ନା she was slightly bent. ଟିକେ ନହିଁ ଝୁଁକି ପଡ଼ିଥିଲେ ଆଗକୁ, ଟିକେ ଝୁଙ୍କିଲା ଭଳିଆ ନହିଁ ପଡ଼ିଥିଲେ କାରଣ ବୟସର ପରିଣତରେ ସେଇଆ ତ ହୁଏ ସାଧାରଣ ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କର. ଆଚ୍ଛା, ତେଣୁ ଖୁଶୱନ୍ତ ସିଂର ଏ ଧାରଣା ଥିଲା. ଖୁଶୱନ୍ତ ସିଂ always believed that for the last 20 years just have had been or such type of relationship, very close companionship. Then just I noticed that. So she had the same at her as just throughout the 20 years. But what the people say, he could not just comprehensively or that outwittingly didn't believe that fact. ତେଣୁ ସେ ତାକୁ କେବେ ହେଲେ ବିଶ୍ୱାସ କରୁନଥିଲେ। ଲୋକମାନେ ଯେ କହୁଥିଲେ ଯେ ତାଙ୍କ ଜେଜେମା ବହୁତ ସୁନ୍ଦର ଥିଲେ ଦେଖିବାକୁ ୟୁଥ୍ ଟାଇମ୍ରେ। That's why the writer could not believe it. I think here a little bit of I think irreverence, just a little bit disrespectful. I think so it is sadhanata just a token of that is undignifiedness. It is sadhanata and criticizing, just I think it is mimicking. ତାଙ୍କୁ ଏଠି ସାଧାରଣତଃ ଟିକେ କ୍ରିଟିସାଇଜ୍ କରାଯାଇଛି କି ତାଙ୍କୁ ଟିକେ ଗ୍ରାଣ୍ଡ ମଦରଙ୍କୁ ଟିକେ ତାଙ୍କୁ ଏଠି ଅସମ୍ମାନିତ କରାଯାଇଛି by the writer Khushwant Singh. Another thing also tell about the grandfather. And also grandfather, the writer has been seen the grandfather photograph just hanging above the shelf in the drawing room. କାହିଁକି ନା ତାଙ୍କ ଡ୍ରଇଂ ରୁମ୍ରେ ତାଙ୍କର ଗ୍ରାଣ୍ଡଫାଦରଙ୍କ ଫଟୋ ବି ସେଠି ଗୋଟେ ଅଛି, just in the shelf in the drawing room, above the shelf ଥାକ ଉପରେ ତାଙ୍କ ଡ୍ରଇଂ ରୁମ୍ରେ ତାଙ୍କ ଗ୍ରାଣ୍ଡଫାଦର ଫଟୋଟି ଅଛି। and he had a turban, କାହିଁକି ନା ସେ ଗୋଟେ because he was a Punjabi, so that's why he had a turban, ଗୋଟେ ପଗଡ଼ି ପିନ୍ଧିଥିଲେ and loose dresses, ଢିଲା ସବୁବେଳେ, because he always put on loose dresses, loose clothes, and white beard, because the beard had also just hanging up to the also chest, ଛାତି ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ତାଙ୍କ ଧଳା ଦାଢ଼ି ଗୁଡ଼ାକ ସବୁ କ'ଣ ନା ବଢ଼ି ଆସିଥିଲା। ଆଉ ସବୁବେଳେ ଢିଲା ପୋଷାକ ପିନ୍ଧୁଥିଲେ, ଗୋଟେ ଟର୍ବାନ ଗୋଟେ ପଗଡ଼ି ବାନ୍ଧୁଥିଲେ। and he looked to be just more than 100 years, and just he appeared to be just 100 years just when you see from the portrait or the picture of the grandfather of Khushwant Singh, and also 100 or more than 100 years, and was having the grandchildren, and placing grandmother near him just appeared. So I think here just if one notice the portrait or picture of the grandfather of the Khushwant Singh, then one just could imagine that he must be having 100 or more than 100 years, and then he would have or could have, I think, more than also 100 years, and he could be having or would be having also lots and lots of grandchildren and no wife and also children. ତାଙ୍କର ଅନେକ ନାତି ନାତୁଣୀ ଥିବେ, ତାଙ୍କର ସ୍ତ୍ରୀ ପିଲା ନଥିବେ। So that's why here Khushwant Singh also, I think, did not also agreeable to the fact that my grandmother also just be the wife of such grand old man, just who could have only the grandchildren and grandchildren only, and no wife and children, because her grandmother was a little bit of also pretty, and also little bit of handsome, and also a little bit of a younger in comparison to the age of her of just his grandfather's age. So that's why here the writer Khushwant Singh also could not feel justified to hang the photograph just nearby the grandfather's photograph, or along with the photograph of the grandfather, because writer Khushwant Singh thought that it would be, I think, quite an awkward feeling, and also unjustified to just get the photograph be placing at the same place, or closeness at the same place along with one another, because that's why some bit of difference coming from that. So here also writer Khushwant Singh made some mistakes, giving irreverence, and also giving criticizing, and also mimicking the grandfathers just about the ages more than 100 years, could be having only the grandchildren and grandchildren, and no more thinking about the wife or child. So I think just when also people said that the writer's grandmother also was also the playing games, or sometimes also grandmother telling that yes, I was playing different types of games, but here Khushwant Singh also did not or at all believe in that facts, because here writer believed that no, it could be also some imaginary facts about that, not reality coming into that being to that. এটি রিয়েলিটি কিছু নেই, ওটা এটা ওটা বাস্তবিক নয়, এটা অবাস্তব। So that's here Khushwant Singh had also made some also again also a sense of irreverence also being paid to the fact. ଏଠି ବି ଟିକେ ଅସମ୍ମାନିତ କରିଛନ୍ତି କାହିଁକି ନା ତାଙ୍କ ଗ୍ରାଣ୍ଡ ମଦରକୁ। ଆଚ୍ଛା ଆଚ୍ଛା another thing just could match that is. So here another thing also at last. So here the grandmother just has been also compared with the winter landscape in the mountains. Winter landscape in mountain means, suppose in the winter season when snow falls, it covers the mountains also on the full fledged. So that's why mountain looks quite just a whitish color all around or everywhere to everywhere, just you could see that. And as if the mountain just appears to be just wearing a large clouds or also full of the whiteness everywhere, just you could find that looks from the distance. It is so peaceful, calm, quite serene, and also just you just contentment just you feel from that scenery just of the uh, that is called the mountains. So that is called the winter landscape. So ଯେମିତି ଗୋଟେ ବରଫ ଗୁଡ଼ିକ ପିନ୍ଧିଛି, ଯେମିତି ଗୋଟେ ମାଉଣ୍ଟେନ୍ ଗୁଡ଼ିକ ପୁରା ଧବଳ ବର୍ଣ୍ଣ ଚାଦର ଗୋଟେ ପିନ୍ଧିଛି, ବହୁତ ଶାନ୍ତ ନିରୀହ କମନୀୟ ଧବଳ ପରିବେଶରେ ଏବଂ କଣ୍ଟେନମେଣ୍ଟ ଅଲସୋ ଫିଲିଙ୍ଗସରେ ଏଠି ଗ୍ରାଣ୍ଡ ମଦରକୁ ରାଇଟରଙ୍କର ଖୁଶୱନ୍ତ ସିଂଙ୍କର ଗ୍ରାଣ୍ଡ ମଦର ସାଙ୍ଗରେ କମ୍ପେୟାର କରାଯାଇଛି winter landscape in the mountain, because as also writer's grandmother was also same. He was, and she was very sensible, and also she was always in the white dresses or white clothes, and also that is the whitish, that is called the silver locks, the silver color hair or the white hair, and white clothes every time just he put on that over on her body, and that white clothes also giving the remarks or remarkable points about the white also means it is so serene, calm, quiet, and also contentment, full of satisfaction, and full of loving, and full of beautiful, and full of also that is means elegance from that fact, because as compared with the winter, that is called the landscape, whereas the winter landscape is so calm, quiet, looking so glorious and beautiful. So I think the same case for the grandfathers also, that is that is in case of the grandmother of Khushwant Singh, it is same case as happened, and she looks also appears to be more peaceful, calm, quite serene, and with comparison to the winter landscape in the mountains. So I think it was of the first unit 1, then second unit just I good, that still then also goodbye, and also happy to all.